Hi, my name is Alessandro Gangelosi and that's a video tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for MaxCookie. This time I'd like to see an interesting feature in 3ds Max, really useful when we work with objects inside a scene. And I'm talking about something related to the named selection. You know that we can create named selection and not just layers. And to create the named selection, we have just to select stuffs inside the scene. For example, using the control key, there's two rocks. And I can create right there the name, let's say for example rocks. And now we have this selection. So for example, if I select the particles there, then I can go there and select the rocks, and I have back the right selection. We can see in wireframe the right selection. Okay, so you know that is really useful. I can also make another selection as the particles, and let's say we have the particles selected. So you see that we have the other named selection there. And let's go back to the rocks. You know, that's a really interesting way, because you know, when we have, for example, there to play with a hide or an hide, you know that I can for example, highlight by name, and you know that there we have the named selection. And if we have to select something, I can go there and say particles, and you see we have the right selection, and the same if we use the rocks. So the named selection are used in 3ds Max in a lot of cases, but you have to know that we have also other way to control the named selection, and I mean the edit named selection sets. We can press there, and you see that we have a new panel, and in this new panel we have the named selection we created. You see the particles, and you can see the objects inside the named selection, and rocks, and you see the objects we have inside. You see that actually it is saying that we selected rocks, so two objects. In the other way, we have actually selected two objects, but we are working on the particles. What we can do inside the named selection, and obviously we can have all the selection we like to have there. You see, is the possibility to create a new selection. So let's select, for example, there the underwater ground. We can create a new selection, and let's call it ground. You can see that it's more similar to the way of working on the layers. So we have the ground, and inside we have the underwater ground. Let's create another named selection with the ground, and let's call it environment. Okay, and you see that actually we have the underwater ground there. But we can, for example, select this rock, and you see that we have the add selected objects. So I'm adding the first rock, and then I can add also the other one. So we have a selection that is the ground, and we have just the underwater ground. Then we have the rocks there, and you see if we want to select all the environment objects, we have the named selection for environment with the rocks and the underwater ground. So it's a really interesting way to play and work with the selection. What we can do is, for example, in the environment, let's add, for example, the particles. And the possibility we have is to subtract the selected objects. So we select the particles, and we can remove, and you see that the particles are removed from the named selection. Other things we can do is to remove a named selection. So let's say, for example, that we have the taper selected, and we create, let's say, tapers. Okay, and inside the tapers, you see that we have the tape with the target, and we are able to select the tapers and remove. So we can also remove the named selection set from the panel. Other things we can do is to select the objects inside the set. So let's select, for example, rocks, and select. And you see that the rocks are selected actually. Let's go in wireframe. Same if we go, for example, in ground, select, and you see that we have the selection just for the ground. Same for the particles, etc., etc. let's go back to Shaded. And you see that the other stuffs we have is the select objects by name. So we have the possibility to select directly an object inside the scene, and highlight the selected objects. So for example, let's say we select the particles, and then we ask for the highlight the selected objects, and you know that we have selected the rocks as X, this one. So it opens the environment because we have the selected objects there and there. So it is saying that we have the rock X selected, and you know where the selected objects is in which selection set. So you see, it's a really simple way of working with the selection set, and you can manage in a really simple way to add objects, remove, create, or remove selection set. So for the moment that's all, and I hope to see you back on MaxCookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Bye.